Welcome to this explainer. Okay, I want you to start off by just imagining something really simple. Imagine stepping outside your door tonight, maybe taking a walk down a quiet road right where the streetlights end and the trees begin. To you, it feels like absolutely nothing, right? You're just a completely harmless visitor. You're taking a normal step, making a normal sound, moving through the world with maybe your headphones on, just enjoying the peace and quiet. But what this explainer is going to reveal is that you are not just a neutral observer in that environment. Actually, to the natural world all around you, your simple presence is triggering a massive, entirely unseen reaction.
It really forces us to ask the question, what does danger actually sound like to a wild animal? For hundreds of thousands of years, life survived by reading very specific patterns. A lion had a certain rhythm, a crocodile had a specific place, a wolf had a really distinct sound. Predators were terrifying for sure, but they were predictable. Prey animals evolved around those patterns. But then, there's us. We kind of contrast our own perceived harmlessness, our casual weekend hikes, with these ancient high-stakes survival calculations that are happening unseen all around us the very second we step onto a trail.
Somewhere near that path you're walking, another body registers you before you ever even see it. A deer just stops chewing. A fox freezes under a branch. A mountain lion, hidden entirely beyond your sight, hears just one human voice. You didn't chase it, you didn't raise a weapon, but the moment your presence entered the air, that animal's body didn't wait for proof. Its muscles tightened, its breathing shifted, and its brain made the absolute oldest calculation in nature: danger. Not because of what you're doing right now, but because of what humans have meant for a very, very long time. To them, we are a terrifying, invisible force.
Section 1. The Mountain Lion Experiment.
Okay, let's dive into this. To understand exactly how deep this fear goes, we have to look at a fascinating 2017 study from UC Santa Cruz. They focused on mountain lions. Now, keep in mind, mountain lions are not fragile animals. They kill deer, they move silently through the darkness, they drag prey much heavier than themselves. If any animal should walk around with absolute confidence, it's a mountain lion. Now, what's really interesting about this is the sheer absurdity of the experiment's design. Researchers set up hidden speakers right near mountain lion feeding sites. At some sites, they played a control sound, just the natural ambient noise of frogs. At the experimental sites, they played casual human conversation, not gunshots, not shouting, not roaring engines or barking hunting dogs, just the sound of ordinary people casually chatting about their weekend. They were literally testing an apex predator's reaction to our everyday conversation.
In the results, absolutely staggering. When mountain lions heard human voices, they fled. They waited much longer before returning to their food, and their overall feeding time dropped by more than 50%. Think about that. This incredibly powerful hunter had already done the highly dangerous work of taking down its prey. It was alone with its hard-earned meal. But just the sound of a human voice, simply coming from a speaker, was enough to make that cat completely abandon its food because eating suddenly felt entirely unsafe.
Section 2. The Landscape of Fear.
But you see, one mountain lion fleeing a feeding site is really only the beginning of the story. So what happens to an entire wildlife community when human voices enter the ecosystem? What happens when our invisible footprint stretches across an entire forest? Well, let's walk through this cascading chain reaction, what ecologists call a trophic cascade. In a 2019 study, researcher Justin Sarasi and his team broadcasted recordings of human speech across a stretch of wilderness. The large carnivores completely changed their movements, actively avoiding areas and traveling way more carefully. And because they hid, the medium carnivores, like your raccoons and foxes, they also became harder to detect and they reduced their foraging. But then something totally unexpected happened with the small mammals. They actually started moving around and feeding more. Why? Because the larger animals that normally hunt them had pulled back in fear of us. Literally, our voices alone rearranged the entire food web.
Which brings us to a really crucial ecological concept: the landscape of fear. What this basically means is that fear isn't just some fleeting feeling inside one animal's head. It becomes a physical, behavior-altering part of the environment itself. A trail becomes an avoided zone. A waterhole becomes a night-only risk. Human presence acts like this invisible hand that changes where animals sleep, where they eat, and where they raise their young. We don't have to swing a weapon, we don't have to fire a gun. Just the idea of us being nearby creates a landscape of fear that completely alters wildlife behavior.
Section 3. The Super Predator.
So you might be wondering, why are these animals absolutely terrified of us if we're just walking by with a backpack and a pair of headphones on? What did humans become that made the rest of nature start rearranging itself entirely around us? Well, the answer lies deep in our evolutionary history. Simply put, humans broke the rules of nature. While normal predators have predictable limits, right? A cheetah has incredible speed but gets exhausted quickly, a crocodile has patience but only near water, humans are an absolute nightmare because we constantly change the rules. We hunt in groups, we use tools and weapons, we strike from a distance, safely away from teeth and claws. But most importantly, we carry memory. We fail, we learn, and we come back tomorrow with a better plan. To the animal kingdom, our extreme unpredictability is terrifying. We can be completely harmless one day and incredibly lethal the next.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we evolved into. Scientists actually have a specific term for us. We aren't just apex predators, we are super predators. Back in 2015, researcher Chris Darrimont analyzed data from over 300 studies, and the numbers are wild. Humans kill large carnivores, we're talking lions, bears, wolves, at 9 times the rate that those carnivores kill each other. 9 times! And in the ocean, it's even more extreme. We don't just participate in the food chain, we dominate it with a level of pressure that nature has literally never seen before.
But, it's not just the sheer volume, it's how we do it. Here's the truly disturbing detail that separates us from pretty much every other hunter out there. We target the strong. Think about a wolf pack for a second. They usually take down the young, the slow, the injured, or the weak. It's just how nature balances itself. But human systems, we target the biggest, strongest, and healthiest adults. We kill for food, protection, trade, sport, you name it. By continuously removing the strongest individuals, we've created a completely different kind of evolutionary pressure that has forced all of nature to adapt to our presence or perish.
Section 4. Nature's Memory.
Let's bring this all back to you, the viewer. There is a deep irony in the modern world, isn't there? Most of us no longer feel like dangerous animals at all. We stop to take pictures of deer. We call ourselves harmless visitors in nature. But the thing is, wildlife doesn't read our self-image. It reads the long, lethal track record we leave behind. They read our footprints, our scent, our roads, and yes, our voices. Survival writes lessons without language, and the lesson animals learned about us over hundreds of thousands of years is that we are the ultimate signal of danger. I want to share this incredibly powerful quote directly from our source material today. Civilization is our story about ourselves. Fear is the story other species learned about us. Both of these things are true at the exact same time. We are the animal that paints art, writes music, and studies the stars. But we're also the animal that made bears retreat, deer freeze, and mountain lions abandon their meals just at the sound of our passing voices. Our ancient footprint still echoes loudly in the silence of the woods.
So, what does this all mean for us? Next time you are on a weekend hike and you hear a twig snap, or you notice a bird go completely silent, or maybe a deer freezes before you even realize it's there, ask yourself, what older world are you touching? You aren't just background noise to them, you are the signal. We really like to tell ourselves that we left nature behind when we built